Mark, let's deal with it now. Despite being down to 10 men, Manchester United dumped Arsenal out of the FA Cup on penalties. What's your take on it, Simon?
It's a bit pathetic, isn't it? I mean, on the middle of the week, it was a discussion about the difference of balls. And I know it was taken out of context, but he was the one who opened his mouth and decided to make it that way. And this week, it's because you didn't get what you deserved. If you don't take your chances, then you deserve to lose games. So that's precisely what happens to you. And if you're playing against a Manchester United side, which is not in good form, okay, they got a decent result against Liverpool, but that doesn't necessarily determine that all of a sudden United has righted their ship, and with 10 men. So let's get some context here. I mean, Newcastle, they were profligate against Newcastle. These are his signings. These are the players that he brought in. And to suggest that you haven't got enough players and perhaps will only be left with Sterling and Trossard, which most people would go, I think I'll have those as wide men, thanks very much. I mean, Arsenal, to me, I think it's an interesting dynamic, an interesting metaphor that you use, huffing and puffing to nothing. Because, I don't see Arsenal winning the Champions League.
He's buzzing, isn't he? It's
difficult to see. No, well, look, the reasons why that sort of rhetoric gets put at your toes is because you're not objective. You sit in the studio week in, week out.
I've just started the show by saying congratulations to Manchester United.
Because you have to.
No, because that's the sporting element.
Because it's not about sporting element, it's about
subjectivity.
Subjectivity.
It's about fun.
Well,
you're a punchy Judy show?
No, not
or
at all.
We're a proper show here?
Not at all.
Yeah.
No,
let's have an element of
Martin,
balance. Arsenal have gone out of the FA Cup.
Martin, the reasons why you get put behind the eight ball with Arsenal is because you flatly refuse in every single conversation to be subjective. So whilst it becomes a bit of sport at your expense, I don't need
So
Jim
tell me why I'm not being subjective
mate.
this morning then.
Well, the only point that we're talking about
I'm
is
saying
the fact
that
you've been
Arsenal's
magnanimous.
they had poor finishing.
But you just sat here and said at the beginning of this conversation, well, they've got terrible, they've only got two wide players, and those two wide players are Trossard and Sterling. These are difficult circumstances.
They still had enough on the pitch yesterday
and they should have won the game. And they
created enough opportunities.
And ultimately, the question is, are they huffing and puffing their way to nothing?
Enough.
And Arteta, to me, is treading on a pathway that will produce Arsenal very little, because he spends most of his time finding mitigation or excuses. This argument was, there's no contrition from Arteta. It's simply, we didn't get what we deserved. If you don't take your chances against a 10-man Manchester United, you do not deserve to win a football match.
Quality of the striker is in question right
Havertz.
now. The quality of the striker, everyone in front of goal, there were other opportunities, weren't there? For other players.
But you took great delight in telling me, when I used to make the observation about Havertz, that he must be a tax write-off, that now that he's scored a few goals, all of a sudden that's been corrected itself. Now he's reverted back to type, which he couldn't hit a cow's backside with a banjo. Arsenal now are slightly maligned because they haven't got a centre forward.
Has the shine, Simon, been taken off Slot's perfection in any way over the last week?
Going to win the league, aren't they? Anybody that closed their eyes and said at the end of the season Liverpool were going to win the Premier League, and would anyone suggest any shine at any particular point because there was an assumption that maybe you could win the treble?
You could say, and I'm just hearing it in my ears now, you can say I'm paranoid again. If this was Arsenal losing two major games like that, you'd say they bottled it
to win the league.
But I don't think they've just gone out of the Champions League and they've just lost the cup final. You'd be saying Arsenal have bottled it.
No, I wouldn't, because they're going to win.
No, you would, because that would be the mischievous part to your personality. We're seeing all of it exposed here this morning.
But Arsenal,
you've no love for the fact that a team has won a trophy after 70 years, and you can't find it in your heart to see any joy in that.
All done.
But you want to aim an easy target.
All done. Right.
But I'm going to say, no, Liverpool. That was taken away from them by a very good Newcastle. And Liverpool haven't bottled it at all.
So
let's get it right. You just asked the question, answered it yourself, created a narrative amongst yourself, and had a debate with yourself.
I'm learning with you.
I would not suggest, if Arsenal won bugger all, which is what they do right now, I would say they bottled it, right? If Liverpool lose the league now, what do you think I'll say?
Liverpool aren't going to lose the league. I'm talking about what's just happened. What have they just lost?
So you can't you can't make the argument they've bottled it, can you? And you can't compare it to the argument that I made with Arsenal, who were 8 points clear in the one competition that they could win. And they didn't. Liverpool had 3 opportunities to win a competition. If they win one of them, I'm not going to turn around and say they bottled it. And by the way, I wasn't in the camp of saying they were going to do a treble either.
What is the difference between what Liverpool have done this week?
Because they're going to win something.
You get so close. You get so close, but they haven't done it yet. They get so close to winning something, and they don't, and they're bottle merchants. I don't think that. I don't like that word. I don't like it aimed at anyone. I just think they've had a very difficult week. This PSG were absolutely remarkable in the way that they played, and Newcastle.
I'll put it to Simon. I'll put it to you.
ADS.
To any degree. I mean, They went out to PSG. They lost in the FA Cup to Plymouth. They lost yesterday in the Carabao Cup final. I watched them trudge out of there yesterday. Now, of course, they've got the Premier League, but has the shine been taken off anything that Slot has tried to achieve or looked like trying to achieve? It was going to be, wow, it's now... Yeah, Premier League, but brilliant.
Yeah, but they've just lost 2 games on the bounce. All the timing of when it's come and when the adjusting, and it was going beautifully well. It does take the shine, of course it does. And now you've got 3 players that haven't signed their contracts.
So what does that tell us?
So you've got Van Dijk, you've got Salah, and the attention's now coming towards Liverpool. But I think it was almost...
Are they going to win the league?
Yes, they will. And
it's the most difficult thing in the world.
But that makes it worthwhile.
That you've had to play competition. Is everyone's bread and butter. Everyone starts. Even Guardiola starts with the principle of win the league.
Of course.
Are they going to win the league?
So without doubt, they're going to win.
Arsenal derangement.
They're going to. But I'm just saying. Please don't go with this bottling thing, because it doesn't make it. Look,
but they haven't. Because no one did. No, you did.
You put that label because it's cheap journalism on certain clubs.
Arsenal. Correct. Not certain clubs. Yeah. Your club, you loon. So they bottled the league.
So why haven't Liverpool bottled it this week?
Because they're in cup competitions. You get knocked out in knockout games. If you win over 38 games and you're 12 points clear and you don't win the league, you bottle it. If you're 8 points clear when you get to the business end of the season and you choke.
Yeah, but you can still be accused of discussion.
And the fact of the matter is, Martin, Liverpool at the moment sit there this morning with a 12-point advantage, 12 points more than Arsenal.
You've got to set your own goals. That's what this manager's been doing. But you're an old-fashioned fan who just you're only concerned about what you do against Arsenal. As long as you can beat Arsenal every year, that's what you're worried about.
No, that's not true, Martin. That's not true.
Well, you just told me that you're just as comfortable as Arsenal are right now, and that's good enough for you. What about winning something for yourself?
No, purely because you're the one who makes the comparison, because you're high up there at the moment.
What comparison am I making? Well, how do you compare Arsenal with Spurs right now?
How I can... not too far away.
Polar opposites at the moment, I'm afraid.
In what respect are we opposite?
Well, look at Arsenal's defence. It's conceded the least amount of goals this season. Spurs are up there, aren't they, now? Losing game after game, 12 defeats. That's hardly comparable with Arsenal.
But he does have a point, Martin, because... you do write newspaper articles that suggest that you won't have any Tottenham Hotspur players in the Arsenal team.
I wouldn't right now, would you?
You do like to poke.
Would you have anyone in there now?
No.
Who's getting in there now?
Absolutely. But he has a point. He says they can win the Europa League and the League Cup. You can't win the League Cup, potentially, because you've got to go overcome Newcastle at St James's Park after losing 2-0.
Just a minute. Bournemouth showed us we can do that. Bournemouth went there this weekend and won 4-1.
Well...
If Bournemouth can do it,
we will see.
Maybe Newcastle are sitting nervously.
Absolutely, you would have expected Arsenal to have done their job at home, though.
It's not over though. That one.
You would have expected them to do this. So what he's doing is drawing a parallel, which you like to do, and ultimately sitting in a position of, as we all know, and everyone in the studio knows, you have no subjectivity as far as objectivity as far as Arsenal.
Would you expect me to? I've played 449 games for them.
I do. Because I'm objective.
Won 3 Premier Leagues.
I'm objective.
3 FA Cups. I have to have a team in this.
Of course.
I would have thought Palace is your team. If you really love Palace, it's your team, your affinity with Palace. I don't necessarily sense that.
But I'm not stupidly biased, even when it's bleeding obvious.
I'm not being stupidly biased. I think you'll find that's not the case.
You are. And everyone knows
not at all.
Everyone knows you are.
I was very magnanimous last week with Manchester United knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup.
The point the caller's making, to his point, is that Tottenham...
He's comparing Arsenal to Tottenham right now.
Hang on a second, Martin.
But Tottenham can win the League Cup. You can't. Potentially, if you can't overcome Newcastle, it's very difficult for you to do so. Tottenham can win the FA Cup. You can't.
Do you see that happening?
Tottenham can still win the Europa League, and it's very unlikely you're going to win the Champions League.
Do you see them beating Villa away? Tottenham.
Who knows? To answer your question, no, I wouldn't be looking at Lee Carsley.
Because Carsley doesn't fit the bill. He's not good enough, in your view.
I don't think he's got the credentials. I don't think he's got the experience. He'll learn on the job, and that's fine.
I'm not sure why we're asking Simon this, because he's not got great form in this area, has he? He didn't want Gareth Southgate to have the job.
No, I wanted a winner. And
look how well did we do with Gareth Southgate? Okay, we could have done better. But I think we could have done a whole lot worse.
I wanted to win. We can always do worse, Martin. That's
Who do you think will get the job?
It's wonderful to set yourself a low standard and manage to achieve it. That's a wonderful benchmark. But the bottom line is I wanted a winner. And you can sit there and you can blow as much smoke up Gareth Southgate's backside as you want, and you can retrot and rewrite history about every single scenario and ignore the fact that in every single tournament, every single time we played a side on paper that was either as good as us or better, we lost. Every single time. We can use it to say a home tournament when we played virtually nobody besides a shell of a German side. We can use it in the World Cup when we played virtually no one besides the French.
Didn't play Croatia in the first game.
When there were 107. Not the same Croatian side that beat us.
Yeah, look, this was still a good result.
So my point,
just put that to one side.
My form is pretty good, given the fact that what I want is a winner, someone to win. So I don't need to go back about whataboutery. So my form is pretty good. I want a winner. This group of players, we're being told, is an embarrassment to us in terms of riches. It's an embarrassment of riches. So why aren't we winning things? The Greek side won something in 2004. So why aren't we winning things? Because we don't put the right people in place at the right times and we don't give them the right tools. And in Southgate, we didn't put the right person in place. He had the right tools. So I'm looking and hoping that maybe we don't replicate the same mistake by getting someone in that's vanilla, that plays with the FA in the way that they want to, and ultimately delivers us no outcomes. Not that we're entitled to any. We're not entitled to any.
But I don't think that's a realistic. It's not a realistic.
Decades.
The realistic approach is.
But Martin, when it boils down to it, that's a statement of fact. He's delivering.
Yeah, but Lee Carsley will be given the job. They're not going to go for Pep. Pep doesn't want the job.
But Martin, to get back to Gareth,
so your best in class is Pep.
Fact.
You want Pep then, don't you, to be the manager? You want best in class.
No, I don't.
Can Pep do it?
But I don't. But I'm a realist. Like, we can't get Pep. So what's the next best version of it?
So and I
also, with all due respect to Lee Carsley, I just said that they want paid a compensation. I would if I could, right? But to go to the next part of the conversation, I also want somebody that can sit in front of the bloody media and look like a leader. For Christ's sakes, you shouldn't get caught in the headlights. I don't care how inexperienced you are. I'll give them a pass and let them learn on the job.
Don't you feel
why do we want people to learn on the job with the national team?
It's very difficult, though, isn't it? When you're sitting in front of them,
be better then.
Should have just come out then and said, "Yes, of course I want this job." Like every other English
man, I want this job. The bloody obvious questions, aren't they? Prepare yourself for them.
You've worn the England jersey. He hasn't. I haven't. I couldn't. But here's the thing, Martin. Do England not deserve a coach who is best in class?
Of course they do. Of course they do.
Is that not realistic? You said it's not realistic.
Well, the thing is, when you look at
it is realistic.
We look at our managers. We've probably got the fewest that we've ever had in the Premier League. We've lost Gerrard and Lampard now have been taken out. Maybe they were the managers that, if they'd have done well in the Premier League, could be coming into this situation. No, so we haven't. So what we're choosing from, we've got a very small group that we can choose from. So we have Sean Dyche at the moment. Do Gary O'Neill? Do you give England job to Gary O'Neill right now? Are they better candidates?
No, if you. No, if you
go
English, yes.
So he's working within the FA. But
he said
respected.
Right away when Gareth went, go after Klopp, lock a door until you come back
say
out
right
with
away. We had to go to a break before we actually came to these headlines. So when we cropped this and we put our show together, we didn't have anything
best in class look like Pep or Klopp
2 months ago.
Okay.
Does it not look like either one of those two?
Well, look, we've gone with the foreign approach in the past. It's a real shame that we can't develop a manager. So they're giving one of ours an opportunity. They've seen the Spanish model. They've had Gareth do it before. I think we should be preparing ourselves for what's actually going to happen, not what we want to happen. What's going to happen is Lee Carsley will be the England manager next. If he does well in the next 2 games, it's his job. And then we might see a different leader. Might see somebody talking then in the way he wants to talk. But at the moment, he's feeling that, okay, let's go forward with the Southgate model. Because he was very humble. He didn't really want the job.
If you go for a job interview, do you put your worst performance in? Do you sit there meek and mild and not actually answer the questions in a way that actually gets you the bloody job? I think it was an emotional evening. I think nobody expected to get beat by Greece. And I think in that mode, he was on the back foot. And maybe should have just that's how you judge people,
stick to the remit.
Judge people.
You're there for the next 6 games and that's it. Judge me after the 6 matches.
Do you think, in all honesty, Martin, that Lee Carsley has the prerequisite credentials, qualifications and outlook that you've seen so far to be the England manager to take us to win a tournament?
He knows he hasn't got the credentials, but that doesn't mean he's not going to get the job.
Do you think he'll get the job? Fine, fantastic. But we're not arguing about whether he gets a job or not. We're arguing why he gets a job and should he get the job.
I do feel that there is something about him that he could go on to do very well.
What?
It's just getting that balance. And if he's, I prefer him to be very good in front of the players.
I
prefer him to be very good in front of the players rather than the media. If that's his poor suit, then that's fair enough. Okay. If he hasn't developed that very well, it's the results I judge him on. So I'm going back to the game. Well then, so the game against Greece was a strange situation for us, and the structure of the team wasn't there. And it's like, well, I've went a different route. Sure, but I'd have some beliefs.
If you did a straw poll on Friday morning, how many of you want Lee Carsley out there? I mean, can you imagine what the result would be of that, man? Coming off the back of a defeat at home to Greece.
Yeah, but he's gone now to Finland. He's got a decent result. He's got 2 other games now. Is it Finland and Ireland to put things right?
Is there? The tragedy for us, though, as a viewing public, and as people, you played for England, I'm an Englishman, full stop. And you look at it and you go, there's no test here, so we don't learn anything. He's taken a bold decision to make an unwise set of decisions in the Greek game, and he got it wrong. Okay, he's fixed it by going to play the finish in a different way and won the game. He'll now learn that lesson and play, and we'll win against the Republic of Ireland probably, and we'll win against the rubber fixture against the Greeks, or get a draw or something like that in Greece, whatever. But we won't have learned anything, because the only way we learn anything is when we rock up to a tournament and play a team that's better than us, and home we go.
What do you make of this boy? Is he fast becoming the best player in the Premier League, or is he there already?
He's there already. He's a remarkable talent. I watched the game live. It was one of the best Premier League games I've ever seen. Actually, 9 goals on the day, 3 disallowed. One of those was from Palmer. He's just white. There was nothing running through his veins other than just calmness. He's just so chilled in front of goal. The free kicks are amazing from distance. Okay, the penalty never looks like he's going to miss. He should have had more. At half time, I said, look, he could get 8 goals. I think it's a record, 4 goals in the first half. Had a hat-trick in 30 minutes. His time and space, he's now playing as what I call a game controller. He plays as a 10. They started the season, the manager playing him on the wing, 1 by 1. He's putting the players into the right positions. Fernandes now plays alongside Caicedo in midfield. He's making more tackles than any other player. Jackson is now showing a bit more composure in front of goal. But it was a welcoming match for the back four to play so high for Brighton. And as much as I like the new manager for Brighton, I think he's a wonderful talent. He's going to stick to that, that belief.
But Palmer's the best in the league at the moment. In your view,
Palmer's
he's the
best of the beef. But listen, it was made easy for him with the resources that they're that good. Chelsea now, it's just okay. Eventually, it was going to come off. They've got really good players in the squad. They needed a manager to pull it all together, slowly put people in the right positions. Jim Palmer was playing right wing at the start of the season. He has to play in that central position.
Well, I mean, there's a headline in the Times, Simon. Palmer must start for England. I mean, they were telling Gareth that in the summer.
Yeah, he's a good player. Still got a long way to go. He's a very good player, doing very well in a car crash of a Chelsea team. A disaster.
22 goals he scored last season.
No, but it's about time with the billions they've spent.
22. It's nothing new. 22 games. It's very interesting, actually. If he was still at Man City... And Phil Foden's not actually starting games for Man City. Would this guy have been held back even more?
Well, he made.
Surely he'd have forced his way into the team.
We can't really characterise it as a pet mistake, because he decided he wanted to leave.
I think we can.
He wanted to leave. So it
wasn't his finest hour.
So hold on. If a player comes to a manager and says he wants to leave,
he's healthy. That he goes.
Then ultimately, the manager's job is either to do one of two things, and I always think it's the wrong mistake. If you try and talk someone around from their way of thinking. A, you're in their pocket going forward if you don't give them precisely what they want, and B, you're addressing someone's mindset which isn't in the right direction. You have to let people go. When people want to resign from a business or walk away from a football club for whatever their motivations are, you have to let them go. The fact that he's landed...
Yeah, but if
Chelsea,
you believe in him, you keep him. You work with him.
Well, no, but he couldn't keep him because the player wanted to leave. So unless he gave the player what the player wanted, if Pep Guardiola said to the player, no, you're right, I'm going to start you as many times as you wish, then he would have stayed at Manchester City. But no manager...
But that wouldn't have been the conversation. The conversation could have been, Cole, stay with us because your time is coming.
And he may well have said that, for all we know. And the player turned around in the same way that Jadon Sancho did and other players. And the only exception to the rule was really being Phil Foden, who was prepared to take that view. Cole Palmer wasn't prepared to take that view, is my understanding. Yeah. And so he went to Chelsea with the initial concern that his attitude might not be right, and that he might find himself falling foul of a particular outlook, especially in the capital of London, where there's even more attention upon you. And what he's done is he was a shining light for a difficult season last year with Chelsea, and has come through that. He's now the poster boy for everyone's hopes, which means the poor bugger's going to be put under so much pressure that if he drops his levels by even 5%, he's going to be called a failure in about 2 weeks' time. So the bottom line is he's a very good player. Chelsea are beginning to get their engines going, like I said they would, and now they're not so much of a car crash. They're fourth in the Premier League. When everyone was
just a big "I told you so" moment.
Well, there's an element of it, but it's not. Can't be.
But they had to get going. They had to get.
Well, they didn't because people were forecasting. Hang on a second.
They couldn't get any more.
Hang on a second. I was listening to the usual suspects shouting out about the fact Pochettino's been gotten rid of. It's a clown college run over there. No one knows what they're doing. It's too much money being spent.
Suspects?
You, Alex Crook. Other people, the
just
kid,
say that
the kid. Well, I thought
Gabby was right in breakfast this morning.
I thought I'd give you some anonymity
with the money they'd spent. It's about time they came good.
Then you could make the case.
They were doing okay at the end of the season with Pochettino, weren't they? Didn't they turn things around?
Everybody spends horrendous amounts of money. Manchester United are the biggest spenders over the last decade, and what have they achieved? Everton have spent fortunes, and what have they achieved?
No one spends $1 billion in a year.
People spend money. They didn't spend $1 billion in a year.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't. Don't be silly.
It was obscene, the amount of money.
Of course it was. Of course it was. The levels that they were spending out were horrendous, and they weren't worried about it.
Horrendous?
Yeah, over.
It's not like you to go for hyperbole.
Well, I think it is hyperbole. I think it is. I think it is. I think it's an obscene amount of money, but I think the money football spends full stop is an obscene amount of money. I don't leave it at Chelsea's door.
One of the lovely things I like, Martin, about Cole Palmer, in the pre-season shoot with the Premier League, when the players did it, and the cameraman saying, give us a bit of that. Give us a bit. You just scored a goal. What about that? Show me you've 3 fingers. You've just got a hat trick. And he goes, no, I'll show you 4. I'm confident of getting 4. I love that.
I'll show you in a minute.
And the boy, I'll show you 2 in a second. But Cole Palmer spoke at the weekend saying exactly that. Yeah, it was 4. Could have been more.
Yeah, you know, when I missed the chance in the second half, I was fuming because it was early in the second half. I think it was like 56th minute. So I should have scored that, but I didn't. So I was pretty angry, to be fair. I was just thinking win the game, and because, you know, the manager told us it was important to win, to get 3 points. So yeah, I was happy that we did that.
He's just a youngster. He comes off the pitch. He scored 4 for Chelsea in a Premier League game. Says, nah, I should have got more.
Yeah. Because
you got to love that.
And he's in charge of his own destiny. I want to play, and when I play, I'm going to make a difference. And there's no time to lose. And while I'm here, people will be talking about me for years when I leave. And that's what's going to be happening. But I still feel that even Pep can make mistakes. And maybe only he gets away with this because of what Man City are winning, because what they've won is incredible. But it's not ideal that a player this quality is now playing at Chelsea. Man City would dearly love to have him now. Okay, I get it. It was healthy. Let's let him go. He wants to go. But he forced that move. And if he can play well in a Chelsea team that was struggling last season until Poch managed to turn it around, there's no wonder that he's playing so well right now.
What would your guru do if one of the players, younger players that was talented, very talented, knocked on his door and said, I'm not getting the game time I want unless I can get an understanding I'm going to get it, I want to go. What would your guru have done?
What does an older man with wisdom do? A young man feels. Experience. What were you like as a young man? You thought you could do everything overnight.
I'm asking you what your manager would do.
No, I'm asking you to reflect on younger Simon Jordan.
No, I'm asking.
And I'm saying to you that as a younger. No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
It's about the manager. We're criticising Guardiola for letting him go.
But if somebody was next to you and
follow the direction of travel,
if someone was next to you,
what would the manager do? What would the manager say to this younger person?
If there's a person next to you,
I'm keen to hear what the younger.
If there's a younger person, what a manager does with that level of wisdom is say to him, "Look, fella, look, it's going to happen for you. Just be patient." But Pep was like, "No. He doesn't have to be patient, does he? He's spoilt with the resources he's got, so he's got rid of him, and he's overlooked a massive talent."
He didn't get rid of him, did he?
He got 40 million for him.
He allowed him to fly.
Is it of good value, 40 million?
No. But by definition, it's what
Man
City.
It's a fantastic
it's Man
piece
City
of that. It's a great signing for Chelsea.
It's not great value for Man City, is it? That's the point I'm making. Listen to what I'm saying. Follow my direction of travel.
Do you think it's one of the mistakes, the few mistakes that Pep has made?
What, forcing? Again, I make the point, and that's why I asked Martin, but he doesn't want to answer the question.
Well, we don't know what the conversation was between Palmer and Pep.
But he seems to.
But Pep should have stood back from it. He should have stood back from it and said to him.
It's been well rehearsed that the player wanted to leave. It's not supposition on my part.
Lots of players knock on the door and say, I want to play.
So my question is, you've got a young player that may well be something, but at that moment in time was all potential and no real first team experience. Knocks on a senior manager's door that's wiping the floor of English football and says,
he scored a goal in the Super Cup final. He scored another goal, didn't he, in another final.
But what would Wenger have said to him?
It was very much coming on to the fore.
You're staying, that's the end of the conversation.
Probably would have done, yes.
But I don't want to.
Probably would have done.
And if the player said, well, I still want to go, what would then happen? Would he pleaded and
he realises how much he's valued, he sets his patient and he waits and then he starts to do.
So Guardiola is remiss. He has not valued his player and he's entirely at fault.
No, he's got such an armful of resources at his football club that he decided to let him go.
City in the face, that's clear. You can almost see the scene in the training ground at City. Nobody mentioned Cole Palmer this morning.
Which face has it smacked that Man City are winning trebles from? I'm not sure anyone's face is getting smacked.
City will still continue to do things and win things.
There you are.
We're talking about a player that scored 4 at the weekend for
Palmer's fantastic.
But
Man City are still perceived to be the best team.
Of course, serial winners. Of course,
there's also a nice feeling when one of your own does it within the club. Nobody in that academy is happy to see Palmer playing for Chelsea.
How did Chelsea feel when Mohamed Salah went off somewhere else and Kevin De Bruyne went off somewhere else and came back to Manchester City and Liverpool respectively and tore everyone a new one? Was that Chelsea being absolutely... at the time, Chelsea were dominating
what Man City were building, they really have a great deal of pride in their young players that come through the system.
Neither of the players you mentioned were Mourinho's finest hours, were they?
No, but...
You can go and you can go.
But the bottom line is that Manchester City are still a very dominant side and still a very good side, and Cole Palmer has done remarkably well at Chelsea. Would he have had the same licence at Man City, given the competition for places in the middle of that field? the answer probably is no. We might not have seen.
No, I think
we should all thank.
It rises to the surface.
We should thank
class
Man City
and quality
because we've now got an asset playing in the England side that might have been in the resis at Man City because Rodri and De Bruyne and Foden and anyone else that was ahead of him in the pecking order might have been in the Man City side.
I'm not going to jump to celebrate that fact with you.
It's not an easy thing to jump off a plane and suddenly be at your best, is it? After travelling those amounts of trips, 10, 11-hour trips at a time, you do over there and back. If it was down to Simon, he'd be happy if they were playing on the moon, 250,000 miles or 480,000 mile round trip.
It's a bit extreme.
But as you've already said this morning, Martin, it's a short career, which is not because they earn a fortune.
It's a short career, yeah. It is a short career, but so that's
it's a short career, so that's why they're cramming in as much football as they can.
Yeah, but also it's more cosmopolitan than it's ever been before. You're now seeing players from South America and everywhere else. That's a big change that we've seen from the likes of Brighton and Bournemouth and now Forest with those players.
Your argument
so you're travelling an awful long way around the world.
I hear you. I mean, just so you're clear on the short career nonsense, the average career in this country is about 8 years. The average footballer's career is 9.5 years. So it's actually average. The football career is longer than the average career that most people work in other walks of life without the reward and the fanfare. You can run your argument for Man City and Chelsea, but this is Brighton and Nottingham Forest. They're not going to play 60 games this season. They're going to play far less than that. So I don't know what you want to do here. No one's coming up with solutions. If they're going to, if they want to do a mid-season break, I'm all for finding solutions.
We had one. We don't have one now.
What everybody says is they point their finger at it and go, "That's what we should do. It's terrible." Right, okay. Now the reality is, how are we going to change it? We've got FA Cups, we've got League Cups, we've got Champions Leagues, we've got Premier Leagues, we've got football that appears to have lots of money but doesn't seem to be making any profit because all the money is being sucked out of the room by player transfers, agent fees, and player wages. So they've got to keep on putting these new tournaments on top. And I do agree the principle of what you're saying is, but tell me how it's going to be done. Because everybody stops at that point. They all go, this is what I think should happen. Fantastic.
But what's to a degree, do you take Lineker's point that all this travel can lead to a fairly indifferent spectacle on the field of play, which Brighton, Nottingham Forest normal time and extra time was?
Well, I mean, if you use that as an example,
maybe not the end of extra time.
They didn't come straight off a plane like Martin Bacoli and walk straight into a boxing ring, did they? So the bottom line is slightly different.
You saw how he performed, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We saw how he performed. Yeah, but they didn't come straight off a plane and get punched in the face, did they? They ran around on a football field. And ultimately, if you want to make this argument about the fact that players are struggling from fatigue from being on planes, yeah, you're getting off a flight, you don't feel great. We all know how we feel when we get off a flight, irrespective whether you're flying in first class or you're flying in coach. You don't feel great because you're in compressed environments and as an athlete, you're not going to be at your best. But again, I go back to the point. What is Brighton and Nottingham Forest do not play in Europe, are not playing a litany of games. They're playing the domestic schedule, and their players want to play for their international countries. Yeah. What would you have the football fraternity do? Rather than tell people what you don't want to do, because we all know that.
So what would you feel then to that negative?
Martin, hang on.
But that's just a minute. I'm asking him, not you. I'm asking him, what would he do?
I'm not complaining.
Everyone. So every now and again, I just sit in this chair, just stroll in, and just hang about, really.
I would accept, A, as an owner, and B, as a paying member of public, that every now and again you're going to see performances which aren't quite where you want them to be. I would accept that. That's what I would do. Now, if I wasn't prepared to accept
you've asked me what I would bring in.
Yes.
So what I would do is every year I'd have a situation where you get minimum of 4 weeks at the end of your season off. Away from it. We've had record number of hamstring injuries in the last couple of years.
But you're managing
what is happening.
But Martin, you're managing the 5%.
And we play.
You're changing the rules for the 5%.
You've got a certain number of hours as well. We had Real Madrid complaining about this recently. How many hours you play between each game to restrict that? Because I would like to play in every game. So make it possible for me to do so.
How?
Because the number of hours between each match, that's what they need to do. Well, look, we've had a situation, some of these South American international players, why are they playing so late in the week?
Don't play them then.
Why are they not playing at the
alternative is, of course, don't play your best players, which then what would happen is, don't play your overseas players because they're going to international games. Then you start to suppress buying players from overseas, and we get to a closed marketplace where people have got to pay more money for British players because the overseas players now are actually a deterrent to play because they're travelling too much to play for their bleeding international countries. There is no solution to it.
It is another barrier, isn't it?
It is, but the only people that are complaining are the ones that get the most benefits and people that are getting paid for hosting a match a day. with due respect,
I don't think
the paying public.
So you don't think the players are complaining then?
Yes, the ones that get the most benefit.
No, the players.
Precisely them.
The players want to be at the table with the main stakeholders to decide,
to tell them what they don't want to do,
and put all of our fixtures together.
But again, Martin, it's really simple. I made this point the other day, and no one seems to
take less money.
Not just that.
That's your stock in our stock answer.
It's not. It's not just that. If you only want to play a certain amount of games, rock into your owner, Mr. Rodri, because you're the person that was singing that particular song at the time, and tell him you want a contract for 50 games a season, and see how far it gets you.
Yeah, but no, I wouldn't. It might be more than that, mightn't it? So I'm asking you to divide it up. So you've got every 3.5 days you play a game.
How?
And we'll divide it up.
How?
And at the end of the day, we need 4 weeks because the players need. Because you're not going to have any players, are you?
But you're
flogging the players.
You're going in a circle. It's like stop the boat.
No, I'm trying to find a solution.
How are you going?
You're trying to be destructive, which is your nature, which is true to you, as you normally are as a person. So I can understand that, Simon.
I'm trying to pin you down.
If you were to use some of that energy in a positive way, we might see a better Simon Jordan.
Martin, last week I asked you to give me a solution to the fella being on Tyrone Mings. You had no clue then either.
No, because I'm not a part of that consultancy team, am I? I'm not a stakeholder in that.
Any solutions.
No.
Tell me how you fix it.
I can sit here. You want to ridicule.
Games,
you tell me what you would do.
Nothing.
You come back.
I don't have a problem.
So what you want, just flog the players? You want copious amounts of injuries? You want record numbers of hamstrings?
It's a fair question to ask, Martin.
I'm asking you how you fix it.
I have asked. I've stated 4 weeks rest.
We don't need to
You don't listen.
We don't need to go into lift.
You don't actually listen. And then I'm saying that we don't play for 3.5 games. We have a gap of a certain number of hours between each game.
How do you do that?
That's
when these boys want to play international football as well.
The PFA has to fight for that.
How, Martin? How do you change the schedule?
Well, the players have actually talked about striking, haven't they, at one stage?
But that's not a solution. That's telling people what they don't want to do.
No,
if you've got a plan, I'm more than happy to go.
Negotiations.
That's a good idea, Martin. But you don't have a plan. You have a complaint.
I've just given you a plan.
What you're saying is
I'm giving you. I want the players to have 4 weeks off.
They mustn't play for 3.5 days, right? And they mustn't.
Is it not okay to have 4 weeks off?
How do they do it?
Because they have to come together. People create all these fixtures, don't they?
You're only also talking about 5% of the entire playing pyramid. You're making rules up for 5% of the players.
Yeah, but they're our best players. They're our best players, aren't they? That we want to...
So the only rules that apply. So
you don't think Rodri then, his injury at the start of the season, had anything to do with the workload?
I don't.
You just think he's unlucky?
Yes.
I don't agree.
That's fine.
I don't agree.
You're allowed to disagree.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm allowed to disagree with you. It doesn't make either one of us negative. You don't have a solution. I don't have a problem, and you don't have a solution.
I'm trying to create a solution.
To get somewhere
I don't have the power to create a solution.
Does it not come down to the players who will have to choose between club or country?
No, they want to play for both, Jim, don't they?
Well, this is it. This is the very point.
They want to. It's awkward that you ever come to this part of the world to play football. Martin, you have to travel that way.
But you can't have your cake and eat it.
But then you want your manager, though, don't you, to actually work it out for you.
But Martin, you're making an argument for Brighton and Nottingham Forest, and I hear your point. I'm not being destructive. But we're talking about Brighton and Nottingham Forest. They're not playing 60, 70 games. They're not going to a FIFA World Cup. They will be next year, won't they? And you're whining about them now.
They will be next year in Nottingham Forest because they're going to be in the Champions League.
Possibly.
So it's an expectation they're going to have to. They're going to have to change in some way. No.
So then don't play in the Champions League then.
No, of course they want to play in the Champions League.
What do you want then?
I want it so that the players can play in every available fixture. But we have to come together. Why are we playing the World Cup this summer so quickly after the
Club World Cup?
Why are we playing that?
Money, £92
million.
And where's it going?
97.
£97 million.
Where's the money
but
going?
I just feel it's too much.
Where's the money going,
it's too much for these City players.
Where's the money
and the Chelsea players?
Into the players' pockets.
If Man City's wage bill is 65% of their turnover and their transfer fees are taking up the other 30%, it's all going to the players.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.